Awesome. Cool. But yeah, so
Mm.
thank you for taking the time out. So a little bit about me myself. That I grew up playing cricket, and I became a coach. And my the way I became a coach was actually through your JP21 foundation. When I was
Oh,
yeah, when I was 14, when Ron Bush Boys they did a session with your foundation in 2014, and
okay.
that's where I learned about coaching. That's where I actually that sort of inspired me to go into coaching and sort of learning about being a little selfless and trying to help others. Um,
Mm.
so that was my first experience of coaching, um,
Oh, wow.
and and yeah, I've dived into it ever since, and I'm so grateful thinking about that time of how learned how to almost try to communicate with others. And I don't know if you've had any similar experience in coaching of how you can actually impact people's lives.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I think it's an everyday journey of impacting and influencing others. I think that's the sort of bare premise of coaching. It's very much a selfless. It's weird to call it a job because I think it's in many ways it's almost a calling.
Yeah,
uh, so yeah, it's a and I think it's the reason why I phrase it that way is because I think the real successful coaches understand the objective that the role or the job is actually not about you. It's really about those around you and how do you impact and influence and sort of guide and facilitate, learning, facilitate development, facilitate, um, the idea of performance and what that looks like, what does success look like. So you're facilitating all these various things, and that I see as a huge privilege. So the context of coaching for me, continues to develop, and I guess you learn such great things as you engage with other coaches and have conversations and just observe and watch and see how people do their things, and you'd be very surprised. Well, I've certainly found that I'm overwhelmed by sometimes just what you learn from watching players and having conversations with players and what they go through in various moments. I think I'm fortunate in the position of having gone through a professional cricketing career myself. So there are obviously a lot of similarities, but such great learning as well, which is cool. Um, but yeah, it's been an amazing journey thus far, and it's interesting because if you had asked me, let's call it 5 to 7 years ago, would you be in a coaching role? I would give you a hard no. Because the idea that I had was it's gonna continue to take me away from home.
yeah,
And that was obviously what playing was about. And the minute I dipped my toe into coaching, I just realized that now this is where I need to be. For now, at least, this is
yeah,
where I need to be. So I've been very privileged to sort of jump. No, I wouldn't say jump the ladder, but things have happened quite quickly. It's been 4 years since
yeah.
I stopped playing, and all of a sudden I've been a head coach in a domestic team for a season, coaching SA20 head coach, the T10 head coach, and now batting coach for the Proteas. So it's happened rapidly. Sometimes I need to catch my breath a little bit with it because it's certainly not what I saw. But I'm extremely grateful because I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. So that's been pretty cool.
And did you ever take time to, like I said, take time out and reflect? Did you ever sort of think that you'd be in this position for 4 years on?
Not at all. No. Uh, I think when I sort of journeyed into coaching, it was more the idea of exploring what this will be like. And then there comes a time where you realize, well, this is actually it fulfills such great purpose in my life, you know, because it's really about others. And I think when I think about purpose, I often think that it's linked to others. So, if you think of the concept of how do you impact other people's lives and what that gives you, the fulfillment that gives you, that serves the idea of purpose for me. And I think coaching offers that massively. And it's been a huge privilege and a roller coaster 4 years. I mean, I've done a bit of broadcasting as well, which is pretty cool. I've enjoyed that. And then, it was more of a tiered thing where at some stage in my last 4 years, broadcasting sort of took center stage. And then, coaching kind of overlapped that, at least for now. And that's where I find myself. Yeah.
It's amazing. And so, like, as someone that I grew up watching it, I think that it's fantastic to see players move from like being in the limelight to sort of shifting behind the limelight and sort of hearing now that they found another purpose behind it. I don't know. Is there many differences between what it was like when you were playing and now as coaching? Did you ever feel that you still fulfilled a purpose, or like you are now, or was it just a different purpose when you were playing?
Yeah, I think there's similarities, but I think there's a few add-ons as well, right? So if I think of, put my playing hat on quickly, purpose looked like representing 60 million people and the great privilege that brought. Purpose looked like the idea of a role model. Purpose looked like the fact that you have the ability through your gifting, your skill set, can bring hope to people, that you can influence people in the way they think and their ambitions in life by literally just what you do. So that was purpose. And I still see similarities in coaching. The add-ons is obviously that you trying to influence and help the players that you are coaching to be the best they can be, express themselves to the best of their abilities and talents, and to realize it. And I think about, and it's interesting because I spent a bit of time with Simon on this. What is my coaching philosophy? And simply put, it is the ability to explore and discover, the player's true potential in all walks of life. So that doesn't only relate to cricket, but really trying to connect with them in a way. So it's connection with players are going to differ. Some will really land in terms of what you say and what you do and how you connect to them, and then there are different levels to that. So I think if I can have some kind of influence in some way by not only telling them what to do, and I don't think that's coaching. I think coaching lies within the space of really having the unique ability to facilitate conversations that players discover the answers for themselves. And then you sort of add to that process. And that's a skill, that you enhance and develop continually. It never stops. One of my coaching mentors is Gary Kirsten. And for him, being a World Cup winning coach, having coached various teams around the globe, and to hear him, when you're talking about coaching, still have this ambition to learn. It never stops. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Do you find that curiosity, and this is for me as well, I find being more curious about people and about different things and like still wanting to learn, it's probably the most beneficial thing in I think in life in general. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, it's a simple phrase of, I think it's in coaching a lot these days, like curiosity over judgment. And I think if we can live in that space for the most part, I think we'll really enjoy the experience of coaching. And I think we'll develop stronger relationships that way. You'll have the ability to influence people in that way. And, people in general, our makeup as human beings, we want connection, we want affirmation, we want relationships. and some need it more than others or want it more than others. It's just understanding the uniqueness in personalities. So I think if you can develop the skill as a coach to really understand the personalities you're dealing with, and having a pretty cool toolbox to dive into, that you can, right, if you identify those personalities like that, so what language, what conversation, what interactions are going to be valuable for them for you to extract the best out of them. So I think that's where I think the great coaches spend most of their time, and that's certainly something that I'm trying to develop, in my day to day as well.
And do you think so? For me, so coaching's almost become less of a technical side, but just sort of, like I said, trying to extract the best out of people.
Yeah.
Um,
yeah. Sorry.
uh, uh, so, and sort of an example for me is and it's something I've had to work on, and recently with Simon. So he's sort of pushed me to a place now where I'm now talking to people about everything in life, and he's helped extract the best out of me. It actually made me realize, okay, I can do a lot of things, and it's sort of I'm trying to launch a podcast and speak to people and just learn. I'm finding that now that like I've had to go through experiences to learn the ability to do it, and I don't know if that's something similar to what you might have experienced. That like the best way to learn about it is to go through an experience of it.
Yeah, I think there's a few ways that we could learn. One would be experiences. I think what else could be added to that would be experiences of others. So learning from others. Yeah. So I think there's the ability to take hold of certain information that comes your way. How do you implement that? Yeah, there's some great tools out there that can really develop your learning. But I think the one that you mentioned probably is highlighted a lot these days, and I think it's such a strong one, is curiosity. Yeah.
And referring back to the story that Simon shared about me, and it's sort of like the big question that I found, because I recently was able to be a top man for a team. What sort of impacts of being a full service to others in sort of like, I'm thinking about specifically a playing environment. What impact can people have to help those that are on the field, even though they're not in the playing 11?
Yeah, I think it lies within what do you see that position as? Is it a drag, or is it an opportunity to serve? And it's not always going to be the same, right? So you'll have days where you're just not up for it. The days where it's a bit of a chew, and then there'll be days where we're excited about it. But I think if we can be aware of where we're at, and acknowledge the fact that maybe I'm okay, not in the best frame of mind, but how can I still make good decisions that impact other people's lives? So recently I've come to understand, it's actually in the Proteus setup here, where we're having some really good conversations. And something that was shared by one of our performance coaches was the idea of a AAA model. So the AAA stands for acknowledge, accept, and act. So acknowledging of how you feel, right? And not trying to suppress it. So you're basically accepting it. So that's the acceptance piece. And then what action can you take that would sort of move you closer to what you want to do and achieve? And I think that's a great tool to use, in whatever you're doing, whether you're coaching, whether you're 12 man, whether you're working in business, because we're emotional creatures. So whatever you're going through in life, can you acknowledge it? Can you accept it? And can you formulate a bit of a game plan and understanding of what can I do that would move me closer to what I'm trying to achieve? What's one specific action that could move me closer? So in the 12 man experience, okay, so I'm disappointed that I'm 12 man. I have to accept that I am trapped. Okay, so what action can I take that is really going to put me in a space that fulfills that role to the best way I can? And that's up for debate, right? So I mean, there's various things that one could do, but I think if we can live in that space quite often, I think there's some great things that can come out of.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, I think I've had those two experiences, which has been really fascinating. Sort of, it's amazing to hear like the stories of how other people experience it as well. I think it's quite relatable between at the international stage and also at the amateur club level. It's
Mm,
all similar. Like it's either extremes and add-ons, but how important that can be to people. Um,
mm,
and then in terms of, I'm thinking about the sort of JP21 Foundation. That for me is like the perfect service to others, and that for me, I love my experience of that, and sort of seeing what impact that you can have to a broader variety. And like I said, for you when you represented, the purpose was I can impact 60 million people, but then off the field, you also had a massive impact in a different way. So how did that come about, or was there a different objective behind that?
yeah, it was pretty much a sort of vision that my dad had for me, being a professional sports person. And he always sort of drilled the idea of how do you use your opportunities to influence and impact other people's lives. And I grew up in the community of Mitchell's Plain, so how can you use your opportunities that you've been afforded and one, be a positive influence in their lives, but two, can you use your resources to afford them opportunities that I've been given? And that's sort of sat with me for years. And he kept reminding me of that, and then we saw an opportunity in 2015 to start the JP21 project, which was called then, and then subsequently sort of evolved into a foundation, because the idea of foundation for me sort of spoke into longevity in people's minds. Um, so yeah, the objective was to use cricket as a vehicle uh, to create positive change and uh, help and influence young people, the next generation, and just use cricket as the vehicle, right? So what we found with that is, kids are more excited to come to school because they're excited for what's about to happen afterwards. We're finding more parents are engaged in their kids' lives, but also, cricket as a special way of teaching some amazing life skills, the ability to play as a team, to respect your opposition, to deal with success and failure. There are very cool life lessons in the game itself that we can extract from it. So importantly, as much as there's always going to be a result at the end of the game, I think importantly is to understand the purpose of what we're trying to achieve outside of just winning and losing, is really trying to create opportunities to create change in their lives, and also understand that. And there's often my often sorry my line that I often use for these young kids when I'm speaking to them is your present experiences, what you see in front of you doesn't have to be your reality going forward. So what I mean by that is, if you constantly seeing gangsterism around you, and you seeing the gangsters are as role models, you have a choice to make there, right? You have a choice to make that I don't actually have to go down this road. I can make better decisions that could change the course of my life going forward. And can we use cricket as a vehicle to enhance that? So those life lessons and principles are critical. A great success story for us over the last 8 years. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I find sort of I've tried to do something similar in the UK in terms of mental health. So, a bit about me, I went through a little like a bad mental health phase, which I did end up in counselling for, which was fantastic for me. But out of that, I think very much relates to what you said of what my present is doesn't have to be my future. And
Mm.
I think having that and think about where I've been the last 2 years, that's been a big motivation for a lot of people around, well, for me and a lot of people around me. And I think it's
Mm.
interesting to see uh, how you can actually change a lot of people's lives. And I think in the form of the JP21 Foundation, sort of me trying to change like the perspective of mental health here, there's a lot of knock-on positive effects that can happen in the world.
Yeah.
And I don't know, is it when you, and this is for something of me personally, I initially set up a mental health thing not to help anyone, but just to help myself. But then the knock on everyone, that's why I see a lot of people actually have a lot of positive change in their life. I don't know, so did that ever occur to you that you were always doing it for someone else, or was it potentially something that you thought, oh, maybe I was doing this for myself in a way as well?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think I've always tried to live in the space of others. And I think in that service, you get the self-fulfillment. So you're kind of serving others, but in the process you serve yourself in a weird way. Because of the emotional experience for you, right? So because I mentioned that we all emotional beings, and um, when I certainly found or find high gratitude and appreciation when I'm serving others, when I'm seeing fulfillment in others, it gives me satisfaction. And in that process, I'm serving myself, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's awesome to sort of hear someone else's perspective of that, because that's a question I've been racking my mind, like why am I doing this? Is it for me? Is it for others? And I think I had a friend who sort of said that to me. Something similar. It's like, all right, what you're doing is actually for everyone, but I think it's also Simon saying you've got to realize what impact you are having for yourself as well. Um,
Mm.
and so he's been someone that's been fantastic for me to bounce ideas off. And like, sort of, what was the experience like of going to someone like Simon, sort of like a mojo coach, just sort of open up to him and try to learn from someone else? How did that come
Mm.
about?
Well, we met in 2017. My sister, who was working at the time for an NGO called Mood South Africa, and Simon was an ambassador for them as well. And then I don't know how long before that, but anyway, he started this course, this 2-day course called the Courageous Public Speaking course. Okay. And because of the work that I do back then, I was obviously still a player, but we often in the limelight and needing to speak in public. And I've always had this interest of developing the tools and just my ability to speak in public. So I saw that as an opportunity. So both myself and my sister went on this course, and it was just life changing. And I got exposed to the idea of that I have the unique ability to impact people's lives just by who I am, right? And um and I think what I took out of that course was so much more than just public speaking. It was the courageous part that really stood out. So the courage to do something that feels uncomfortable, the courage to step out when you don't know what the outcome is going to be, and that's just freed me up so dramatically. And now I will be comfortable doing things that I've got no idea what I'm about to do, but just let's step in and see what happens. So for me, the thing that I love about Simon is that he's got a unique way of bringing out the courage in me. I mean, we still work together, right? I still see him from time to time, and we just have great conversations. And he challenges me to step out. And his classic phrase to me is, "You're playing small, my friend."
Yeah,
Because we all we all
yeah,
we all have that, right? We wanna box ourselves in a comfort zone in various things, this feels, I can do this. This is comfortable, but it's the magic, as he would put it, lies within exploring the uncomfortable and the space that's the unknown.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I love about it. Yeah.
yeah. And is that pretty much that's what perfectly sums up for me my understanding of where you were playing 5, 6 years ago to where you are now. It's you went through the broadcasting and then into coaching, and how the unknown is actually like maybe the scariest place, but it also feels like the most rewarding place at times as well.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it happens every day. Every time you step into a meeting, every time you have to facilitate a conversation, it feels uncomfortable because you don't know where it's going to lead to, right? And
Yeah,
even more so when it's in a greater group and you're trying to keep everyone engaged. But the magic that lies on the other side of the fear that lies within you is simply breathtaking. The opportunity for connection, the opportunity for influence and impact. I believe that's, imagine, let's just take South Africa as an example. Imagine majority of South Africans had this perspective of, I'm going to be courageous enough to reach out to somebody and see what they need. Just as a stupid example. I mean, do you think we'll move in a better direction as a nation? 100%. Man. Imagine the understanding of, if we have the ability to change the way people feel in a moment, what impact that will have in their lives and what knock-on effect that will have in whoever else's lives. We certainly have a great opportunity to move in a direction that looks positive as a country. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I love sort of like the chain reactions and that many people actually aren't aware of
Mm,
how yeah, if I impact one, that spreads to others, and that can sort of
mm,
change like the whole community environment, which is like an unbelievable feeling. And I'm sure that's something you must have felt with the JP21 Foundation and with coaching now,
mm,
is how everyone is sort of changing due to impact that one individual can have. Like,
mm.
but as a person, how do you help others become a little more courageous?
I think it lies within a few things. So connection and allowing people to, through the relationship, show them a different perspective. So leading the way, I guess, in your behaviors and allowing them the opportunity to kind of, yes, I guess, go at their own pace at some point, but also recognizing moments to nudge them in a certain direction and give them the belief that they have the ability to do it. But the thing is about giving people the belief, they're gonna go that route if they trust you,
Yeah,
and if they realize that you are authentic in what you're trying to convey to them. So that's why I talk about connection in the relationship. And yeah, there'll be moments, like I mentioned, that you lead the way. So if I'm asking you to do something, would I be courageous enough to do it before you so that you see it's okay? Yeah.
I love that. That's what my favorite moment is to sort of like
Mm,
I think, and I only discovered that. So I have a friend who's 22. And he's our club captain. He sort of said to me, "Oh, like you starting this podcast or going to such an uncomfortable environment, like how cool that is." And it's made me want to do it myself. And I think I say we like you have to lead the way for people, for others to actually see it's okay to be courageous.
mm. Yeah,
So yeah,
100%.
it's amazing. Uh,
100%.
Awesome. Um, well, the meeting's going to run out fairly shortly, so I just want to say thank you so much for sharing with me. It's actually
Pleasure.
it's such a privilege and for me, a little bit starstruck at times as well. throughout this conversation. Because I was looking through my phone, and my parents sent me a picture of me when I was like 11 at Newlands. I was just me and you just standing there and having that, and then going to the jet between project as it was at the time. For me, it's just like these like massive moments in my life. So I want to say thank you to you. So obviously you don't always see the impact that you have on others, but yeah, it's a massive thank you to you. I'm so privileged and honored that my past has had a link with you, and it's awesome to sort of see how my past has come back into my life with Simon, and then meeting you again. I'm very grateful. So thank you very much.
Pleasure, buddy. No time. Anytime. Cool, man.
Thank you.